Okay, I want to talk about our wonderful presenters. Heather Harlan has worked many years as a drug and alcohol counselor and certified reciprocal prevention specialist in Columbia. She has been a volunteer with the Children's Grove for several years and also a family and friends support group facilitator with the Columbia and Mid-Missouri NAMI chapter, NAMI meaning the National Alliance on Mental Illness. She's also a member of the NAMI Missouri Hall of Fame, which is incredible. Barb Buchanan is a former special ed teacher and currently teaches water aerobics. She's been a volunteer for Children's Grove for several years and is currently the co-chair of our social, emotional, and mental well-being interest group. She has been a member of NAMI for many years. She's a co-facilitator for the NAMI Como and NAMI St. Louis Family and Friends Support Group, and is also an instructor for NAMI's Missouri Family to Family class. Sarah Burke is an assistant professor in biology at Truman State University. She's been actively involved with NAMI for the past 3 years, teaching classes and facilitating support group for peers with mental health conditions, and teaches classes for caregivers with loved ones who have mental health conditions. Sarah also actively speaks on behalf of NAMI through their In Our Own Voice and Holding Hope programs. She's also honored to serve on the board of NAMI. Sarah has struggled a lot with stress during the holidays and is excited to be here to discuss this important topic. And now I'd like to turn the program over to Heather.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. And, I think there are lots of lists that float around. You can read in Better Homes and Gardens, these ideas about how to lower your stress over the holidays or tips for the holidays. But some years ago, in our NAMI group, we had our family and friends group and a joint meeting with the individuals who live with mental health diagnoses. And we brainstormed on more specific, some of them are general, apply to everybody, but looking specifically how to help families and individuals during the holidays who have this particular issue to deal with. I think the holidays can be welcome, but also stressful for most of us. And then it's really a higher level of stress for individuals who have mental health conditions as well. So we kept that in mind, and there's some specific things I think that are, again, useful for anyone, but specifically to remember our friends and neighbors and families and community members who may have a higher level of stress because of this. And really, if we look at it, just any chronic health issue, a disruption of routine is going to make things more difficult. So with that, we're going to share the list. So we put together 47 ways to de-stress your holidays, and we're going to kind of go through those, and then we're going to have time. We hope that you will make a note, go get a pen and paper if you have one, if there's something you like, and these will be posted. We're going to share with Children's Grove, and we'll put them on our Facebook page for NAMI too. But if there's something you like that you want to jot down, but also as we're going through these, if you have some ideas, if you go, oh, well, they don't have this one on there, and that you can add at the end. We will also have at the end a few ideas we've talked about to help families through the COVID question, if you will, that people have different levels of anxiety regarding that and boundary issues. And we're going to have some suggestions and things to think about to help us maneuver what for some families is a minefield. For other families, it's not as big a deal, but for some families, it's a very difficult situation. So we'll offer some things to think about for that. So Sarah or Barb, you have anything else? I'm going to put our page up.
No, I'm good to go.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. And then I'll just, we're real original. We're just going to read them. Can you see it? Okay.
Yes.
Then we're just going to read it, and then the three of us will kind of talk about it again, and we will then maybe take some notes. We want to, since they're 47, we want to get through them, but then we'll allow plenty of time for discussion, feedback, and other suggestions. We're sure you have some things to add to what we've already put in here. So first of all, we kind of divided into categories, but the first category is routines, a key priority so we can deal with stress better. Adequate sleep. Energy lags and moods may suffer. Our ability to be pleasant or productive suffers when we fail to protect our sleep. And again, we may want to be tempted to stay out late for events, stay up late for movies, Christmas movies or something. And so to really be attentive to that. Exercise, we tend to think we're going to hibernate all winter, but we can dress warmly. I'd encourage you now, get your boots, get your funny hats, get what you need to be able to get out during the cold weather in the winter. Stay connected with positive support systems, those folks who add positive energy to our life and with whom we can be honest. I think we all know there's some people in our lives who are we love, but kind of sap us of our energy sometimes. And so be sure that you're working to stay connected with enough people that add energy to your lives. Adhere to medication routine, set up reminder systems to pack meds if traveling and cues to take them if our schedules are disrupted. Check to see if a refill is needed in time to get it filled. Debt. Plan carefully for holiday spending. Control chaos. Take time to clean as we go. Make cooking and wrapping gifts more efficient. Remember vitamins, nutrients, and healthy eating. Our bodies run best on appropriate fuel. Sarah, you had a comment on that about the nutrients and the vitamins.
Yeah, just a word of caution that depending on what your loved one, or if you have a mental health condition, what you're on, to be careful. Certain vitamins and different nutrients can interact with medications. So for example, grapefruit can interact with different types of antidepressants and things like that. So being mindful of that as well.
Okay. So again, stay in touch with your doctor and kind of keep track of that. Stay hydrated in the midst of busy times. Remember to drink plenty of water. You know, when we get dehydrated, we might not always identify it as thirst, and our body kind of tends to go, something's wrong. And we don't always identify, maybe it's not anxiety, maybe it's thirst, but to pay attention to that and be proactive about that, to be giving our body what it needs. I remember my brother came up with this was pre-COVID, and he said, wash your hands often. So it's still an effective weapon in preventing a case of the flu. So as we know, there's all kinds of other things floating around, and that's still just a good strategy to wash your hands often. Anything else on those co-leaders here?
The only thing that I would add is to make sure that I know during the holidays, it can be a difficult time with changes in caffeine and alcohol consumption and things like that. And so making sure that you stick to your routine that's healthiest for you in that regard as well.
Right. Okay. And again, these are before to think about those situations that come up, instead of being surprised you're at a social gathering and then what do I drink? So we'll talk about that a little bit more. Okay, thinking and planning ahead. Plan ahead, anticipate challenging situation, and enlist creative strategies from family members involved. Barb, you want to add anything to that? She did point out that's kind of a lot, that we just put it in one little sentence, but it's a lot. You're muted. Okay.
Sorry, got a dog at one end. The mouse was
Okay.
outside of my reach.
Sure.
To unmute. Yeah, so I think it's really important that you talk with your family members and have a support system there. I know Sarah had talked about previously to me about how her husband is her go-to person and knows, when she reaches her limit and has to leave, or anybody, when things get overwhelming and you just step aside, it's nice to have somebody who's left that says, hey, everything's okay. They just need a break. They need to go outside and walk a minute, or just take a few minutes of quiet time, some downtime, because of the overstimulation of the holidays.
And I knew of one individual who was in recovery from substance use disorder. The rest of the family didn't know it. The dinner was running late, and that individual needed to go to a recovery meeting. And it was right at the time they were going to be sitting down to dinner. So sort of anticipating, how am I going to, So you're gonna have to plan ahead. Do I need to tell my family? Do I need to disappear? I don't know. That's difficult, but to think through if dinners run late and if you need a recovery meeting, how are you going to handle that? So those are some other things to think about. Lower expectations, review our assumptions of what we want to happen and lower them a few notches. Verbalize expectations. It's difficult to abandon all expectations, but take stock to see if the expectations are realistic and communicated to others who are affected. Sometimes we just think that mind meld is going to work, and if it doesn't take off. So to be able to talk with our loved ones about kind of what we're expecting, like I'm expecting we're going to leave within an hour after dinner's over, right? No, I'm going to stay late and play games with the family. So, okay, to figure out what that is. Enlist the help of your doctor. A medication adjustment prior to the holiday rush might allow us to more effectively manage the stress of the holidays. So sometimes right now is a time for people, if they've had issues in the past, to be talking with their doctors about adjustments, because it may take a few weeks for those medication adjustments to be at a level that will be helpful. So again, that's a conversation with the doctor, but if you're concerned, this is the time to be having the conversation. Set goals, list some simple things to accomplish each day, celebrate when we can cross one off. Allow others their traditions, extend to loved ones the right to experience old and new ways of observing what has meaning to them. Sometimes families get snagged into, but we always do it this way. And maybe they're family members that want to do something different. So again, working together to salvage what you can and work together to bring meaning to it. Choose small celebrations. Volunteering or attending a smaller worship service or party may be more calming than larger, extravagant ones. I remember some years ago at a training of the speaker speaking of an individual who would usually have a psychotic episode during the holidays. And when they would talk about it and kind of dissect it, they looked at, it was always big concerts, big family celebrations, big stuff where there were lots of people and high expectations. And he did fine when he took it down and volunteered to help with the service at the local mission, or the homeless shelter, where he just was a much smaller celebration, and he did fine. So that may be helpful for some people. Just make it a smaller thing instead of so many people and such an extravagant thing. Plan ahead, create a list, and communicate specific ways guests and families can help us. What was that word you used, Barb? Delegate?
Delegate, yes. I'm great at delegating responsibility.
Yeah. And there's no need to suffer in silence. Our loved ones aren't mind readers. Now we only have to remember where we put the list. But and now the challenge is if we delegate, then we let go of how it's done. It's not going to be done exactly to the way we would do it. So the trade-off is we'll have more time, we'll have a little less stress, but then we have to address our own stress if it doesn't turn out exactly the way we do it. Well, I don't mash potatoes with the skins on. Okay, somebody else might. So kind of, okay, somebody else bring the mashed potatoes, skins off or not, it's okay. Have patience. Holidays are a seasonal journey. And the sign says, anticipate delays, try to keep perspective if vehicle repairs or weather disrupts plans, because it very well could, many years it will. So just kind of, that may be part of the expectation. Something's going to get disrupted. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Choose several things you hope to enjoy during the season and adjust as necessary. Compromise, a willingness to give up part of what you want can go a long way to create goodwill. Allow people to have a less enthusiasm than you. Avoid insisting everyone love the holidays as much as you do. Or the flip side of that. So don't expect everybody to dislike the holidays as much as you do. Some people maybe feel a little grumpy during the holidays, and that's all right. So allow people room to experience it as they do. Go over the schedule. Those involved may appreciate knowing what to expect and check to see if plans work for everyone. I know of several families where it helps a great deal if you go over the schedule. Here's what we're doing. Here's what time we're going this place. Here we're doing this, instead of just, well, I thought we talked about it, sort of a thing. So helping people know what to expect. Think ahead regarding noise and activity levels with the gifts you buy for children. Now, my brother says it did not happen this way, but I said, oh, yes, it did, where they bought my nephew a fireman's helmet with a siren, which we listened to all day. So you maybe do that after everyone's gone home, give it later in the day, or think maybe we'll save that for a birthday, not when we have a house full of people at Christmas. But to think about that. And then also think, if you give a child a toy, they act in a way that that toy is. So if you give a child a pirate sword, then they're going to act like a pirate all day. So think about what kind of behavior you want from the child and to encourage that. Wrap gifts in no-cost paper. I used to put comics, but not as many people do comics from the newspaper anymore. But I've used maps, all kinds of things. And then it's actually easier to pack if you're traveling. As a family, give to a favorite charity, work together to save and plan purchases for others less fortunate. Barb, you said there was something really cool that your family does?
Yeah, we like to make what we call, buddy packs for homeless people. So everybody in the family will bring, enough, like 10 or a dozen items of the same thing. And we'll make, buddy packs for homeless people we see at the street corner. So we'll have in things like maybe some snacks, socks, gloves, hand warmers, a reusable water bottle, a hand sanitizer. Sometimes, usually we're doing them at Christmas, so we'll put candy canes in them, and just something so that we can hand to people that are on the street corners everywhere.
Yeah. Be intentional about extended family giving. Discuss whether to continue the tradition with all adults. In my family, we've drawn names for a number of years, so it kind of whatever works for your family. Anticipate and allow for feelings of grief. Holidays often mark remembering losses of loved ones, relationships, health, dreams, or other major parts of our lives. Some faith communities have special Blue Christmas to help us with that. So if you watch, I know Broadway Christian Church has a Blue Christmas service, usually a few weeks before Christmas, but to allow for that. That's just part of the holidays that people are going to experience grief. It brings up loss for us. So allow for that and plan for that in yourself of how to work through that and observe that. Pray or meditate as your beliefs allow. Connecting with sources of spiritual support helps many cope with stress and can cultivate a sense of peaceful wonder during the season. Okay. Choices for the day. So it's the big day. What are there some things we can do? Create a quiet room. Designate one room as a retreat where guests can go to recharge, rest, read quietly during the chaos of a large gathering. Sarah, you had a great idea that you shared with us.
Yeah, so I would recommend having things in there for people to be able to do that are quiet. So maybe doing a puzzle, having coloring or something like that available for individuals so they can be quiet, but they can be doing something. Because sometimes when you need to kind of rest, just sitting there breathing isn't going to be right when you have a lot of anxiety. So being able to have something to do.
Yeah, and you can let people label the room and let people know because I think just about all of us, there's a point sometimes during the day where you go, just having a quiet place would be a helpful thing. Rent a room in the sense of staying at a family member's home for the holiday causes stress. Reserve room at a nearby hotel. And we know sometimes that might be a little more expensive, but I know one time with our family, there just wasn't going to be, too many people would be sleeping on the floor and uncomfortable, too many people sharing a bathroom. And it just made life much easier to just have a room in a hotel or motel. So it's not what we want, but sometimes to be together in the same community for how houses just aren't as big anymore. So to be able to remember you can do that. And again, maybe you just need more space. Fake it till you make it. Sometimes we find our attitudes become more positive as we practice and act sociable. So sometimes if we go through the motions, we feel better. We won't, I know sometimes we won't think our way into better behavior, but sometimes we can act our way into better behavior. Sometimes that can help. Take a walk alone or as a group. It can help us relax and stay more pleasant. So sometimes, I know especially on Thanksgiving, a lot of families get out and take a walk after that big meal. We plan on that. And I think even individually, I have the Heather, adult Heather, that I invite the adult Heather into the room, who says, you'll feel better if you take a walk. It's like, okay. And she's right. The adult Heather's usually right. I do feel better when I take a walk. So sometimes I need her to come in and remind me of that. Check the weather forecast. You can take a walk in almost any weather. If you have an umbrella, raincoat, dress warmly, wear boots and gloves and hats as needed. And I'm telling you, hand warmers are a game changer, people. If you haven't had hand warmers, check it out. Anything else, Sarah or Barb, on that part there so far?
I would say, like, on the take a walk, something that's really helpful for me is to kind of make it a sensory walk where I look for 5 things that are beautiful, or 2 things that I can smell, or 3 things I can hear. And that can really help me kind of change my focus away from being stressed. And I kind of come back to the house in a very different kind of mental state than when I left.
Kind of get you out of your head and more into your surroundings and in touch. Okay, thanks. Thank you. Yes. Lend a hand, offering to help the hosts and volunteering to support those less fortunate, strengthen our ability to consider the needs of others. Ask for help. I had a great record of glomming around, grumpy, expecting people just to figure out that I needed help instead of communicating it. Alas, again, the mind meld didn't work. Provide activities for guests, board games, puzzles, often help people feel less pressure to excel in conversation, but still enjoy being together. Special activities or space for children may help. Let others be right instead of arguing with family members. Close the discussion with an honest, well, you gave me something to think about. You might be right. You didn't say they were, but you said you might be. Thank you for calling that perspective to my attention. They can save face and you can go on. It's when it's one of those discussions, you're not going to win. Nobody's going to change. You can say, you've given me something to think about, and end it. Detach, allow the other adult's behavior to reflect on them, where accepting your behavior reflects on you. You may love someone, but you are still 2 different people. Practice acceptance. Accept the unexpected will happen and shift to solution mode. What is realistically possible now? Accept fuzzy logic. Some parts of the holidays aren't rational, and some of the guests won't be either. It doesn't have to spoil our celebration. We don't have to be in charge of correcting anyone's thinking, religion, or politics. Remember, parties are supposed to be fun. I love this. They are optional. So if you just find yourself, I don't really want to go to that, you don't have to. And you can also come late and leave early, or come early, leave early. So practice recovery-friendly hosting. Many people prefer not to drink alcohol or need to avoid it due to medical situations. Offer a variety of non-alcoholic decaffeinated options so all feel welcome. Some folks who are avoiding alcohol may feel comfortable if the hosts avoid alcohol for the first half of the party. When I used to work in drug and alcohol counseling, a lot of the people would say it would really help if the host, like, just for part of the party, maybe not even the whole party, but so it's not, I'm not the only one who isn't drinking. I tell the story, I was at a party once where literally a table 6 feet long with different drink options, and I chose not to drink that evening, and I could have water or Coca-Cola. And I don't drink caffeine in the evenings. And it wasn't because the hostess was being mean, it's just a non-drinker wasn't on their radar. So to have some options for people to do that. And then I think recovery-friendly hosting for everyone, if you, an hour before the party ends, to put the alcohol away. Bring your own healthy beverage of choice. Not every host may be aware of your special diet or drink considerations. Bring a beverage or food that feels celebratory to you and bring it along. Park your car a block away. That way you could enjoy the walk. If your family member needs to leave, it will be easy to exit without asking others to move their cars. You don't have to stay for the entire celebration. Sarah, you talked about that with your husband helping out a little bit if you needed to leave. What was?
Oh yeah, because my
Mhm.
husband is definitely a personal advocate for me. So if I need to leave, one, he will recognize it often before I do or before I say something. And so he is very good. Like I feel really guilty about leaving early. And he is excellent at just saying, explaining, okay, yeah, we're gonna go, we're this, we're that, and helping me be able to leave. And so that's really been wonderful.
That whole idea, that was a new thing that Sarah had brought up when we were discussing this, was just to take an advocate, somebody who kind of help you be there. And if you just, so, and sometimes there's just an overload, like just like, I need to leave now to take care of me. And you don't mean to be rude, but we understand if someone who's living with diabetes needs to go take care of their blood sugar issues, people with mental health challenges may just see, I have to go take care of me. That's, my world got a little smaller because I have to take care of me.
Yeah, and sometimes for me, I just need to
Mhm.
go be in a quiet room for a while, and people don't have a designated quiet room, so I just like leave. And he is a really good advocate for me and just kind of very gently explaining, everything's okay, we're just taking some time and she'll be back later. And that's been helpful because then I don't have to explain myself when I come back. Like he takes that burden off of me, which is nice.
Reframe, be appreciative and positive about the time family members can be together instead of dwelling on the time they can't. So maybe schedules or work prohibits it, but also in terms of, as Sarah's pointed out, and then for all of us, if we decide I'm just not going to be there the whole day. For some folks also who live with mental health issues, it's not really fun. Your life is stuck. And then you're going to be around cousins and other relatives whose lives are going on. They're getting educations and getting married, or they have jobs and promotions and taking trips, and your life is stuck. It's not pleasant being around folks that you feel are so far ahead of you in their lives and that you like you're not going to ever catch up. It's not pleasant. So, maybe a family member wants to be there for an hour or two, but doesn't want to be there all day. That's all right. Thank them for, we're glad you're going to join us for lunch. Thank you. So be appreciative of that, even if they're not comfortable for the whole day. Or, if it's, well, we're going to have half the day with our family and half the day with their family, appreciate what the time you are together. Spread out the celebration. It's a season, not just one day. I love that. Consider some small low-key gatherings to enjoy leftovers and ease out of the holiday pace gradually. Some people miss the holidays when they're over. My neighbor and I have what we call the Happiness Project, where we leave our Christmas lights up for each other to see through January. Because it makes us happy to look out and see lights instead of just darkness in the winter. So we're going to start the Happiness Project in a few weeks. And admit powerlessness. It's not in our control to create the perfect holiday or always be the perfect guest. So I think to extend grace to ourselves as well as to each other. And so those were the 47 things that our group had come up with. Barb had some suggestions in terms of families looking at the COVID situation, some things to think about as we approach this, because we were hoping it wouldn't be as difficult this year, but there's still some difficulties that families are encountering. Barb?
Yeah, I think it's really important that that we listen and acknowledge our family members' concerns. We all have different opinions, and it may be my family member doesn't feel the same way as I do about vaccines, but it's important for me to listen to them and acknowledge their concerns. It doesn't mean, I'm not saying that whether I agree with them or disagree with them. I'm just saying, just acknowledging them. And, everybody, it's okay to have what feelings you have. You want to try and find common ground with your family and friends. The family friendships and holidays are important, and it's important for us to be there. So there is common ground in every situation. And, it may just be up to you and not your family member to find that common ground to talk about. And if you're uncomfortable with non-vaccinated family members visiting, be honest with them, but in a non-accusatory way. Make your response about you and not them. And this is where I statements come in real handy. And that's something we talk about in NAMI. I could say, you could say, for example, that in my case in particular, I work with a vulnerable client population, as well as have some health issues in my own family that I want to be extra careful about. So I'm doing, and I just say, I'm working with a high risk population. I have at-risk people in my family. I'm doing everything possible that I can do to keep my family members safe. So, and Heather had brought this up the other day. You want to say yes to the relationship, but no to the in-person meeting. So suggest something else that you could do. You could Zoom on Christmas. You could meet outside at a park for a gathering, or you could go for a walk together. Or if you have special holiday traditions like baking cookies, you know, you can say, I'll bake Grandpa Edith's cookies. You bake Grandma Betty's cookies, and we'll exchange them. And so that we're each getting part of the holidays together, part of our traditions together, even though we're separate. I know last year at Christmas, my family celebrated Christmas on Zoom, which was no fun, but it was better than not celebrating it. And so what I did was, we have a traditional Christmas morning breakfast. So I had baked that, and along with their gifts, I had dropped them off in a non-contact way with each of the kids. So on Christmas morning, we all opened our presents together, and we all enjoyed our traditional Christmas breakfast together. So even though we weren't in the same room together, we were still observing our same, our regular traditions that we do at Christmas time. So I think that that's really important. We tried to make last year as normal as possible in an unnormal situation. You want to make sure that you're clear with your family members. We only have control over our own behavior, so clarity matters. And this kind of goes back to the verbalize the expectations that we talked about earlier. People don't know what they don't know. And if you don't talk to them and tell them, they're not going to know it. So clarity is really important. We want to be respectful of differing opinions. At this point in time, we're not going to change anybody's mind. So I love Heather's suggestions of, oh yeah, you've given me something new to think about, or as a way to end a difficult, what's going to be a confrontational, I should say, a confrontational situation. So be respectful that we all have different opinions. And finally, it's okay to set boundaries, and don't feel guilty about setting boundaries. It might be uncomfortable, but don't attach guilt to it. This is you and your family, and we are still in the middle of a public health crisis.
Yeah.
Be kind, but firm.
Mm-hmm. You can say what you mean and still not be mean.
Right.
So I've heard that said. So I think those are 47 things and some COVID ideas. So I think we'll open it up. Thank you to questions or comments. Yes, Sarah.
I had a couple of things to add.
Good, please.
Yeah. One, I want to second the boundaries, and the boundaries related to COVID, but boundaries just related to any topic. That's really important in our family. But just a couple of extra things for people to consider. And one is, if you have a mental health condition, or if your loved one does, be realistic and very honest about how long you can be around family, or how long you can be around friends, or how long you can handle your routine being disrupted. It's important to being very, very honest about that and adjust your plans accordingly. That was something that I had to learn the hard way, that, there's certain people I can spend about 2 days with, and then I cannot spend any time longer. And I had to be honest and have that conversation. It was hard, but it's been really good in the end. If you have a mental health condition, or again, your loved one does, for me, it was really difficult to reach the point where I would permit myself to leave or to take a break. So allowing yourself and kind of giving yourself that grace is very important. thing to consider too, and to support your loved one if they're trying to do that, or maybe they need to, and you can kind of give a gentle encouragement for them to go and take a little break. And one thing that I always have with me at holidays, especially, is kind of my own mental health kit. And in my mental health kit, I have some aromatherapy. I have my iPad because I like to do jigsaw puzzles on it, and I always don't have an actual jigsaw puzzle to do. I have a book, I have fidgets, and I know I have different things on there too that I to remind myself of things that I can do to kind of help me center again. So like, for example, deep breathing, but I have kind of a list on of things that work well for me. So that's kind of another thing. And then my last thing is to realize, like, it's important to make a schedule, but realize if the schedule changes, that can be very difficult for somebody with a mental health condition to handle. And so kind of being aware of that and allowing time to process and for that change in schedule, as opposed to, oh, no, we're going here instead, and just zooming your way there, is kind of something important to consider.
And thank you, Sarah, and thanks for calling it to our attention. The other thing that comes to mind as you say that also is, don't be afraid to ask a family member what would be helpful. Is there something that you need for us to do different? Is there, because they may bring up something that you had no idea was bothersome to them. Yeah, it really bugs me that we're always 2 hours late and I'm hungry and it messes up my medications, or or something. There may be something you hadn't thought of to give them an opportunity. And then again, to brainstorm, nothing about us without us. So instead of trying to do the mental gymnastics to figure out, ask them what they might need, what would be helpful. And then again, if things schedule change, then let them know, talk to them, find out, talk with each other to find out what might be help with the transition of what they need. Because they may see, well, I need an extra hour to do such and such. Okay, then we'll come back and get you. Or I don't know what that would be. And then I will just thank you for your patience, everybody, and thanks for being with us. If you would, we just open it up if anybody has questions or comments, something you found particularly helpful, or some other ideas that you have. So I don't know how I get more than 47 on 2 pages, but if you, we've got some great ideas I'd like to add to these already. We may be up to 51 next year.
I have something I'd like to add, and that is that not all of us have, like my kids live very far away from us. And so I remember the first Christmas where both of our kids were not coming home for Christmas. And so it was just my husband and I. And Christmas is a big deal for me. I mean, I love being around my family at Christmas. And both my parents had passed away, so I didn't have them around, and neither of my kids were close by. So it was really hard. And so what we did was we decided on Christmas Day to go to one of the local churches that was serving really the homeless population or just people who couldn't afford to have a very big Christmas dinner. And it was amazing how my little pity party suddenly disappeared when I realized, who am I to think that, why am I feeling sorry for myself when there are people who are coming here because they didn't even have enough food for dinner. And so that was a big wake-up call for me. And it helped me realize that doing something for another person can do a lot for your own mental health. A kind act can do a lot for your own mental health. So I just wanted to throw that out as something that people could do, because not everybody is overwhelmed by having too many family members. Some people are sad because none of their family members are around. And so to try to think of things that you can do to cheer yourself up.
Thanks, Kim.
I just want to make a comment. First of all, excellent presentation and really good points. At the same time, also, I want to add, I think being just optimistic and not to perceive, not to have any assumptions, before family is arriving. Your last Christmas may be different and the next one can be different. So being optimistic, not having any assumptions or any expectations, and just doing your role, being transparent, being just you, that really helps. Sometimes self-talk, that this is just for 2 days if I am stressed out, and if I have done my walking, I have done everything, and just telling yourself it's going to be done soon. It's not going to be there forever. Those self-talks definitely helps.
Oh, I agree with that so much. That's how I get through multiple huge tasks in my house. Let's just say I want to clean out my closet, and that's going to take me several hours. I will work up to it. I will think, okay, what day next week do I have free? And then every day I tell myself, okay, next Tuesday I'm cleaning my closet. And then when Tuesday rolls around, I'm there and oh, you're right. Today's the day I need to clean my closet.
Or, or when we talked about delegating and ask someone to set the table and they don't put the fork and the spoon and the knife in the same place my mother taught me to put them. That's like, no, it's okay. It's all there. It's just let it go, Heather. So, that sort of thing. Small stuff. Again, if we delegate, we ask for help, we're gonna have to let go of the results.
Heather, that makes me think, I'm going to add that on as an example of, so for me, the holidays for parents and grandparents are very teachable moments for children, because all of those 47 things you laid out, the children are watching us either do those type things or not do those type things. And so I have always thought about that. And they need to plan ahead. They get stressed over presents for their friends. What are they going to get? I mean, almost all of those 47 things, there's a counterpart for us to be talking to the children or offering modeling to the children, especially when there may be disagreements at the table. Or in our house, we have huge family gatherings for every holiday. I mean, I know it's COVID, but we've all got boosters, we've all got everything else, and we're having a huge one for Christmas. The other thing that I think is really important for me is when you raised having that separate room. We always have a separate room for the children. We always have lots of children. There are activities, monopolies there, card table is set up for cards. The coloring books for the little one, we have it all arranged in a big room. They know it's there when they come. The kids not only know that there is a room for them, but one of the activities we give at every holiday, whether it's the family reunion or Memorial Day weekend or Christmas, is the kids are charged to put on a talent show. And believe me, that sucks them into that room away from the adults, reduces some of the running around and chaos, because they are planning the talent show. And the last thing that I have found personally over the years, especially with my grandkids, is to tell their parents what the rules are at the house. Because if the kids come in and I'm harping on them, it makes me feel bad. It's the holidays, but I don't want them running into the living room with juice. I don't want them coming in the front door with mud on their boots. I don't want those things. So I say to my 3 sons and my daughter, it's your responsibility, to tell them the way Grandma and Grandpa's household works. And it just is so much better. And the reason that I know, once when in the residence, our younger grandson said to a guest that came into the residence, remember, you can't take juice into the living room. So he said that to them at the front door. And so I know they're doing it, but it takes it off you. You feel like such an ogre if you're running around setting up all these rules when they come in for Christmas or Thanksgiving. So anyway, I've talked too long, but those are some of my experiences.
Thank you, Anne. Somebody else. One thing we tried a few years ago, I'm not sure we can do it yet, but was to go to a movie, which seemed weird to me on Christmas, but then we could still be together. And then we got out of the house and we had, you know, so I'm sorry that ends up with some people working on, but that was very helpful to have that as an option on Thanksgiving and Christmas, a way to get out and still be together, you know, doing something.
Yeah, that's absolutely a tradition in our house, is
Yeah.
that we would often go to a movie that late afternoon or evening,
Mhm.
or we would always watch certain movies like
Yeah.
Christmas Vacation or something like that. You know, the ones that we know everybody's going to laugh at, even though we've seen it, you know, 10 times, we still laugh at it, and it becomes a family tradition. And so movies, that's a big part of the tradition in our family.
All right.
Another thing from
Yeah.
another thing from a planning perspective that we've done a lot in our family is assigning who's in charge of each meal. So we do breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and who's in, you know, this family is in charge of breakfast, this one's in charge of lunch, and that makes it a lot easier on the host to not feel like they have to cook everything and organize everything.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Right. Okay. Well, I think we were hoping we would wrap up in about 45 minutes, and looks like we're pretty much very close to that. So we thank all of you for coming. Kim, is there anything else?
I just want to thank our presenters. You've done a wonderful job. I appreciate it. And I appreciate all the participants, and know that we will put this recording on our Facebook and website, and then NAMI will as well, so that you can watch it another time or recommend it to a friend. And so I appreciate the fact of you all participating.
Yeah. And just
And
looking
I
in terms of the web addresses for NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness, and then there's a NAMI Missouri, and then NAMI Columbia, which we also kind of represent them in Missouri area. If you look on Facebook, we only have a Facebook page, NAMI Columbia Mo, and you'll be able to find our Facebook page. And then obviously Children's Grove has a very active Facebook presence as well.
Well, I thank you all, and I wish you all a very happy holiday season, and hope that you all can relax and enjoy yourselves and have a healthy season as well. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody. Happy holidays. Bye-bye.
Bye.